All right, this is Mitch for Indigenous Insights. Today, joining us in the studio, we have Liz Julio, who is not only a tribal council member, but the director of the KBIC Education Department. And today she is here to give us an update. Liz, thank you for being here.
Good morning, Mitch.
Good morning. First of all, before we get into the other questions, just tell us a little bit about yourself first.
My name is Liz Julio. I was born and raised here on the L'Anse Indian Reservation. I've worked within the Education Department for a little bit over 20 years. Primarily, that was out of KBOCC. It's only been since the fall of 2020 that I've worked directly at KBIC.
Okay, now give us a little bit of an overview of what the Education Department does.
All right. The Education Department works together with students, families, and schools through a variety of programming that ranges all the way from kindergarten to college. I do not do this alone, however. The Education Department is actually a growing team of 10. My staff include Jody Jokey, the education assistant. She's my right hand, and she keeps everything that gets funneled through our office organized. I also have KBIC tutors, who are KBIC employees who work within the schools. We have Beth Dix and Shelley Pascoe in Lance, Helen Jandro and Jennifer Westman in Baraga. Together, they provide K-12 in-school and after-school tutoring in both Lance and Baraga schools. Fairly new to the Education Department are our Ojibwe language staff, Howard Kimawan, who's a Ojibwe language instructor, and Betsy Lainanen, who's the Ojibwe Moan apprentice. They hold elementary and high school classes, both within Lance and Baraga schools. Our Education Department also consists of the Ojibwe Community Library. The staff include Don Browning, who was recently promoted to librarian. We have a temporary library assistant who is Graham Edwards. The library assistant position is currently vacant. However, we do have interviews scheduled for later this week. I also have to mention my education committee. This advisory committee has been extremely active and has played a vital role in developing the department into what it is today. It consists of Hope Larimore, our chair, Austin Ayers, our vice chair, and trustees Jennifer Heath, Melissa Lafernier, Sheila Royal, Yvette Simmons, Sierra Ayers, and Becky Genshaw.
All right, very good. And I have to say, too, for college, when I was going through college at NMU, the Education Department saved me many times just because I would have questions. I wouldn't know what to do. I need advice, and it was hard to find. But that Amy St. Arnold at the time was who I'd call up. So you also offer a lot of help and advice to college students as well, right?
That is correct. We are very heavy on the college programming at this moment.
And you know what? I mean, not only that, but it's almost like she was kind of like a personal assistant sometimes, even like, hey, you got to get this form in, and like, okay, I got you. And she's like, how's it going? And, would really check in. It's a really cool department because, it seems like you guys really care about our students and getting them through that education.
We do. We really do, Mitch.
You mentioned a growing team. Can you elaborate on that? How is your team growing?
Yes, actually, KBIC was just awarded a 5-year Promise Neighborhood grant from the Department of Education. This grant is going to braid connections between Promise neighborhoods, KBIC departments, and local schools to create cradle-to-career services that will not only benefit the community's education system, but create a culture of mentoring for those leaders of tomorrow.
That's a better word, not assistant, mentors. Mentors, counseling, that's the better word. Assistants, that's not a good word. But that's very cool. How did that come to be? When did that process kind of start?
So the process started when the youth department came to me and asked if we could collaborate on some grants. And so we looked it up, and we found one that would fit both of our programs, and not only our programs, but it would help departments throughout KBIC. And, it focuses on our youth and our schools, and we're already doing those things. So if we could have the chance to enhance them and make them even better, we can create our own story.
That's what it's all about, too. I mean, once you get to a certain level, you don't just sit there. You figure out how you can expand and just keep growing. That's awesome. You also mentioned that there are some job opportunities as well.
There are, Mitch. Current job postings include the project coordinator, who, of course, is going to lead this team. We have pre-K specialists, elementary specialists, middle school specialists, high school specialists, college career specialists, and 2 Nishnabe Keweenaw. Sorry, that was a mouthful.
That's all right. I love to see the language coming back.
Yeah, and so the specialists are going to work really closely in the schools and with students, and the different partners in the area. For example, like the pre-K specialist, they're going to work with KBOCC's McGeezy and SUG. They're going to work with KBIC Head Start. They're going to work with BHK programs. All of those pre-K programs in the area, to help enhance the current programs and create bridges into kindergarten to ease those transitions.
Very cool. Something I also want to mention on the opposite end of the age spectrum with that, if there's somebody, typically people go from high school and they go right to college, but there's a lot of people that they want to do their education a little bit later in life. They're more than welcome to walk into your office and start to figure out how that's done too, right?
Absolutely, Mitch. Absolutely. That happens all the time.
Very cool. And what do you have to say to, maybe there's somebody listening right now that in the back of their mind, I could go back to school. I could take some classes and stuff. What do you have to say to those people that might think it's too late?
It is definitely not too late. Actually, you know what? Learning is something that nobody can take away from us, and it's a lifelong process.
And what is it? Maybe somebody, maybe they never had any experience with a college application in their life. What would they do? They come up to your office, and what does the process look like? Do they sit down and sign some papers with you? Explain that process for somebody who might have no idea.
Okay. So likely they will come into our office, and we will explain wherever it is that they want to go their application process. Whether it's going over to KBOCC, we're going to tell them what to expect when they go over there, maybe what they should bring. We're going to remind them that they need to do financial aid. So if they need financial aid assistance, they can come to our office as well, and we can help guide them through the process of completing a FAFSA and any other scholarships and grants that they might be able to apply for.
Perfect. And as I mentioned before, in the mentorships and the counseling through your department, is there anything right now that students need to be aware of, hey, you need to get this signed and filled in right now? Is there something that you're kind of waiting for that they need to get done?
Let me think. Right now it's kind of mid-semester, so at the end of the semester they're going to have to remember to get their grades and their transcripts into me so that they'll be eligible for future funding. But also those high school students need to start making plans for their upcoming year. So we're going to be holding some FAFSA workshops and stuff coming up soon. Perfect.
And then I guess before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to mention?
I hope you all consider, applying to be part of our education team. If employment isn't what you're looking for, you can still contribute by looking for those community surveys. All of our programs, our upcoming programs and services that we're going to be providing are data-driven. So there's going to be on the lookout for community surveys coming soon.
All right, very good. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Mitch.